Thank you for joining us live with Miami's Community News. And our guest today is Frank Calderon from the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Frank, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So a while ago, the county changed its how people could get their bulky waste pickup. So tell us how they do it now and how's that going?
Yes, in the olden times, you would make you would schedule it today, but you were given a vague, window of time, like about an 8-9 day window. Now it's more, you're told the day of your pickup and you can place it out up to 3 days in advance. So, now at least you have more certainty as to where, when it's going to come, when it's going to be picked up and that sort of thing.
That's for you. So one of the things that we've learned because of social media, people want more immediate action. They want everything's instantly. And some of the big internet companies order it. It's like, we'll have it there tomorrow, in some cases the same day. So we've gotten used to faster response. And so the counties really picked that up. And my hat's off to them. So bulky waste is the stuff that's left, a lot of yard trash. Maybe you're cleaning out your garage and you put it out front. And people can make an appointment by doing what?
They can 311. They can use 311 or call 311. They can use our website, miamidade.gov/solid waste, or there's also, they can use our app, the MDC Solid Waste app, which is available in both environments, the Apple and the Android versions.
And we've been pretty lucky so far. This is almost the end of August, all right, and no hurricanes, all right. So people still have time if they want to go ahead and trim their stuff. There's no extra charge to the people.
If they are customers, that's correct.
Right. And, I'm glad you brought up the word customer because I never heard that before until I started doing this with you. Before it'd be like, I really didn't like to use the word taxpayer, but we are customers and everybody wants to be taken care of.
Yes.
And my experience with solid waste has always been good. And the website's pretty simple, right? You can go and if you want to remember, you don't have to remember your last pickup. You can just go there and they can do that. So people can put all their trash, their landscaping material out there. What about their white appliances?
The white appliances could go out there as well. Very important to make the distinction. You need to call or go online to make a reservation before placing the items out there. But the white items can also be taken to, we have 13 TRCs, trash and recycling centers. Not all of them will accept some of them just because of size limitation, space limitation. But a lot of them do. And that can be found online on our website, which ones do, which ones don't, either by calling 311 or checking our website at miamidade.gov/solid waste.
So people can get 2 pickups a year, 25 cubic yards per time. All right.
Yes.
So if somebody has if they already use 1 pickup, all right, and they put out more than 25 yards, let's say they put out twice that.
Okay.
How do we get it done? And 2, when do we get a bill for it?
You get several options. One of them is we do charge $25 per cubic yard above, the limit, whatever you have. You can also take, mind you, with 25 cubic yards is probably a lot to take towards a TRC. You would have to make several trips. You have that option as well. You have the option of having a private waste hauler come and pick it up. Can't tell you how much they charge because that's up to the individual who does that or the company that does that. So, those are several different options if you go over the limit. If you plan it a little bit, though, you can make it so that you have, if you're going to have a lot of stuff, maybe just combine 2 pickups into one. If you make sure that you have the pickups available. A little bit of planning is involved with that, but that way you don't have to incur any additional expenses if you can avoid them.
So if somebody puts out too much, all right, the county comes out. Do you go out ahead of time and look at it, or you go out there and say, hey, this is 40 yards?
The driver goes and says, if I'm not mistaken, with the process, the driver goes, picks up the 25 yards because that's what's allotted. But then they'll note that there's this excess, and then they'll leave a form with the homeowner to decide if they want, how they want to manage it.
So they won't pick it up and then send a bill unless you've approved it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and right now, I know that pretty soon you're gonna have a new truck out there, all right? And it'll be announced that it's all electric truck, all right, which is pretty nifty, all right. We look forward to that when that occurs. And occasionally I'll see that the county's looking for drivers. They have to have a commercial driver's license for. That's the starting part.
For most of the driver positions, yes.
And
that's countywide, not just our department.
And so with these guys and gals, when and you have plenty of women also drivers.
We do have women drivers,
All right.
yes.
And they have the joystick and they have mirrors and cameras. And
Yes.
They pick up the not bulky waste, but I guess that also put it on the green cans
Yes.
that are out there.
Yes.
So if somebody needs another green can cart,
Yes.
what do they need to do?
Okay, if their cart is damaged and they need it replaced or repaired, we can do that. They can call 311. That's pretty easy. If they want a second cart on the waste side, there is a charge. I don't remember off the top of my head. It is listed on our website. It's about $130 a year. There's a charge every year. You can cancel it if you want. At any point. But there is a charge every year, and the reason for that is not the cost of the cart itself. The reason is you're now filling up 2 carts, and your neighbor is filling up only 1, but your neighbor's paying the same waste fee. So by producing more waste, that's more. We incur more expense everywhere, not just the collection, but also in disposal. So therefore, that's why we make the additional charge.
And people shouldn't put into those green cans paint and oil. They should not do that.
There's certain things they shouldn't put in there. Big one is propane tanks. Those are dangerous. They can they can harm or injure the drivers. They can injure an innocent bystander, or they can injure people when they get to the disposal site.
So I bet there's some people think, gee, if we put stuff over the top of it, it's not going to matter. They won't see it, but it does matter. It matters all the time.
Yeah.
And back to the bulky waste, when somebody brings out their stuff from their backyard and they put it onto the swale, that has to be material that is acceptable to the county.
Yes.
So chemicals are not allowed in there.
No, we have a special center for that.
And what will the county do when they're picking up the stuff and they go, oh my goodness, there's half a dozen cans of oil and gas? And
if it's bulky waste, most likely they won't pick it up, and they'll leave like a tag or something for the homeowner, note that there were items that are unauthorized. When you call in to 311 to make your bulky appointment, they're going to ask you what you plan to put out there. So and I think you also have to do that when you go online. You have to list the type of items that you're going to place out there.
And online, when you can look at that, we see it that it says where you're going to keep it, where you're going to put it, and they have a diagram of the house out front, and you can sort of like wherever it happens to be.
Yeah,
and which is pretty nifty. All right. We live out on a farm, and our neighbors every 6 months or so they go through and they clean out next door. I always know when they're doing, because I hear the bobcats back there cleaning that up. And for me, it sort of excites me. What can I tell you? So if somebody has the home chemicals, of which we all have that type of thing, they can take it to one of your home chemical recycling.
Yes,
places.
We have 2 home chemical collection centers, one in the Doral area, one in South Dade. There's several options. Certain items will take at some of the TRCs, like for example, used motor oil is a big one. You don't have to go to the home chemical collection center. And beyond that, there are a lot of retailers that'll take certain items back, like electronics. I think some of the hardware shops will take fluorescent bulbs. For example, the auto repair places or the auto parts places, some of them will take used motor oil. Big caveat with all those things, though, ask first, check first. Don't assume, hey, it's an auto parts store, they're going to take my used motor oil and show up there with a pan of motor oil, and then they tell you they can't for whatever reason. Then you're stuck with it.
And then you spilled all over the carpet.
Or that too.
So what about batteries, for, flashlights and all the gizmos around your house? What should we do with those?
Well, you bring up a good topic, because we were talking a few minutes ago about hurricane season. So yes, you have batteries. Now the standard alkaline batteries that you buy for, flashlights and things like that, your AA, your AAA, your C, your D, and your 9-volt, those, once they're used, you can just throw those in the garbage. But if you have lithium batteries, if you have rechargeable batteries, if you have the odd shaped batteries that look like a button or like a little pencil eraser almost, those type of batteries, they should either be taken to one of our home chemical collection centers, or check with either a battery store, because there are a few of those, to see if they'll accept recyclable batteries, or possibly, some large retailers might, especially the ones that handle electronics, check with them first. They might take it if that's a little bit more convenient for you than bringing it to our center, but for sure we'll take it at those centers.
So I know this is sort of hard to figure out all the things to do with all these recycled things. So if somebody didn't know, all right, they shouldn't really. If they put it in their recycling container, the blue
The
thing,
blue.
is that safe to do that?
Not if it's not the right material. And basically we have it down to like 5 different types of items, the simple 5 as we call it. And I'll try to see if I remember them off the top of my head right now. Cardboard, cartons like milk cartons or juice cartons, paper, any kind of when I say paper, as long as it's not Tyvek, which is like a plastic type of paper envelope that you try to rip and you can't rip with your hand.
Yes.
But the stuff, junk mail, anything like that, that's paper. Bottles, any type of bottles, whether they're plastic or glass. But the only type of plastic or glass that we accept in our recycling program is bottles and cans.
So if somebody put the wrong type of bottle into the recycling, it's going to wind up getting kicked out by the machine.
Well, it might get mixed in with. That's the whole thing. If it's depends on the type of material, chances are if it's plastic or glass, it'll probably be accepted. They now have aluminum bottles, but the aluminum bottles, I have to find out from our recycling people if they accept aluminum bottles. They probably fall under cans because they'll get treated as aluminum because they're made out of that material and they're roughly the size and shape of a can.
So we as consumers and the manufacturers of these products, cans and plastic, we've adjusted over the years. It was before it was glass, and then we made really stiff plastic, and okay, we don't have to do that on everything, all right? And so we sort of got accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I look at a jar of pickles and it's in a jar, I'm going, why is this a jar? How is it not slipping out of my hand and dropping on the floor? But when we look at the bottles of single-use water, where that plastic used to be really thick, and now it's thin.
It's thinner, yeah.
And that's because one can
use less material,
right? And we got used to it. And the same with the Coke cans. Before, you have to be a He-Man in order to crush it. Now you can just push on it and it'll collapse. But on Coke cans, if you will, generically speaking, and the plastic, that stuff gets recycled pretty quickly.
Yes, especially aluminum. Aluminum gets recycled. I think in a matter of 6 weeks, it can go from you put it in your recycling bin today to it's a new can or whatever, something made out of aluminum 6 weeks down the road.
And so there are 2 different plants. There's the recycling plant, Jean Marie Massey, thank you very much, wherever you are over there, right? And then there's the plant that burns the trash.
Yes.
It's the trash that people leave for the bulky waste pickup. Is that burnt? Or does that
most of it, yes. Most of it
will
will get incinerated, yeah.
And it gets incinerated, and it reduces it by about 90%.
Yes.
And then it powers the plant.
Yes, we use it to make electricity. The big reason we have it is to reduce the volume of, because otherwise we'd have to have landfills all over South Dade, or all over Miami-Dade County, I should say. Not to pick on South Dade, all over Miami-Dade County. It helps us reduce volume, but as a side, as a byproduct of that, we are able to create electrical energy, and it's enough electricity to power the plant itself, plus an additional about approximately 35,000 homes.
And sometime in the near future, maybe the next couple of years, in the evenings, all those trucks are going to get re-energized. What do we call it?
That is recharged.
They'll be lined up.
That is the vision of our current director, Mike Fernandez, is to have a fleet of electric waste collection vehicles powered by the very waste they collect. Not as directly as we saw in Back to the Future, where Doc was throwing banana peels into the flux capacitor. Not as directly as that, but basically, yes.
So, and when you think about the people that created Disney and Epcot and the movies like that, so that was out there somewhere floating around, except for you had to be the odd scientist. But nowadays, it's going to happen.
It's doable, yes.
Yes. And so we see that. So there's one thing that we see frequently. I'm driving down the street, got this little tiny car. You got this great big mattress on the top that's tied down, right? The front part is going like this. They're doing 40 miles an hour, waiting for the thing to fly off, all right? So I always stay out of the way. What should people do with their old mattresses?
The old mattress can be taken to TRCs, or it can be placed out for bulky waste pickup. If you place it out, there's an important distinction. There was an ordinance passed a few years ago. If you place it out for bulky, it needs to be wrapped up in some type of plastic bag, like mover's bag, and sealed with duct tape so that nothing can get out. That's theoretically to prevent the spread of bed bugs. If you take it to TRC, that's not a big issue because that's going to go right into the back of a roll-off dumpster truck in it that's going to be taken away.
And what happens with that, with the mattresses?
The mattresses have to go to landfill because they're a mix of material. They really can't be processed in our in the incineration facility.
The amount of refuge that we have in Miami-Dade County is gigantic. And I think that if we all became a little bit more aware of it, maybe a fast video. So here's all the stuff, that goes in there, right? And how much goes to the landfill. Now, these truck drivers, when they're out picking up the garbage in the middle of their route, they have to go and unload, right?
Roughly, yeah. Most of them do, yeah.
And they go and they finish their route. And how many homes they do approximately?
About 1,100.
That's extraordinary to do that. And some have one cart, some have two carts.
Yes,
right?
some of the homes may have two carts. Yeah.
Right. By the way, it's sort of like my old tennis shoes. I really like them, and as I like my green carts with the holes and everything in them. But let's talk about when somebody puts their cart out. All right, it's supposed to be the handles towards the house.
Yes.
And what happens when they don't do it that way and they put the handles out?
Ooh, well, it may not seem like a big problem, but you're now having the lid might not flip open properly, and you might not empty the cart, and then you might have the cart, either some of the garbage might get spilled out on the street, or you might have a half empty cart when you get back home. So that's why it's important to place it in the correct position.
Now, I see it all the time. Sometimes people will take their landscaping material and put them in there. Is that okay?
And with the green carts, yeah, that's fine. Small amounts of landscaping material are fine.
And I think that it's important for people to understand that if they jam everything in there and they put in that cardboard and they put all that stuff, when that arm comes out and they go like this, they turn it upside down, they have to keep banging it against to get the stuff out.
And the driver can't see what's in there. They'll often bang it a couple of times just as a habit because they never know what's in there. But if the stuff is jammed in there really well, again, you're going to come home to a half-filled, half-empty cart.
So when we look about things that are being recycled, and some things are readily recycled, but it looks like we have so many cardboard boxes that are being created and that they wind up, only some get recycled, all right? Because they go in the blue cart, but they can't be wet. They can't be pizza boxes, right? And then you got to take it and try to figure out how to take it apart, which is real. You have to want to really be green to do that, because the blue card is smaller than the green one. We've seen that companies have figured out how to make money with some of the things to recycle. Will there be a time in which wet cardboard can be used?
I don't know. That's a technological question. It's possible. I mean, we've seen technology improve like crazy in so many aspects of life that it's possible at some point they might be able to do that. But for now, it has to be dry.
Let's talk about on plastic bags. Plastic bags should not go into the blue because it ties up the machines.
Exactly. And they can't really, they don't have the facility to process them there.
So years ago, I went and bought a chipper. So I decided I would start chipping my Eureka palms. And you know what happened? Turned into string because it was wet. And it's supposed to be wood, Michael, not this fibrous material. So when we look at the whole recycling issue, I'll bet at some point the people that want to make money from recycle are going to be able to create more things and use more of that, right? And we know a lot of that material used to get shipped overseas to China, actually.
Yes.
Right? Is that process still going on?
No, not as I can't say for sure that nothing is shipped there. Obviously, a lot less is shipped there, but they've, in particular, our contractor that handles the, because we have different people pick up the materials, and then we have one contractor that processes and sells it, Waste Management. And I guess just because they're big, nationwide, they were able to find other places to sell a lot of materials, and a lot of it's actually staying in the U.S., which is kind of good to,
Well, maybe in the future there's going to be more of that. I suspect that's going to be a big drive rather than who can do it the cheapest, all right? Because we've all learned in the last couple of years the cost of relying on entities outside the United States. So again, so mattresses, if they're going to leave for bulky waste, they have to wrap it up.
TRCs, they don't have to.
All right,
they can bring
TRC, they can take it over there. And now that school's back in session, and it looks like we hope that it's going to be a good year for our students, One of the things I hope that the county does is do more lessons at some of the schools, because the little kids, and I'm a little kid, I watch this stuff, I'm like amazed at, and that could create years long of people taking care of the environment. If we could, let's talk a little bit about people throwing stuff out their windows and littering up the streets and illegal dumping.
Yeah, that's obviously that's a big problem. We focus more on illegal dumping, which is a little bit bigger. It's like it's not no longer throwing a fast food bag out your window. It's more of the back of your truck. You're dumping that mattress somewhere because you don't want to take it to the TRC or call for bulky pickup, or other items in front of somebody else's house or in somebody else's neighborhood. We have hidden cameras in different places around the county, and we are serious about cracking down on that. We've had a number of arrests. We had a case recently where a guy was caught before he got a fine. He was commercial, so the fine was kind of hefty. I don't remember if it was the initial fine was 500 or 1,000. Well, you would think you would learn. The guy got caught again, only this time $2,500 fine, felony litter arrest, felony arrest. It was no longer misdemeanor.
Good.
Because he was caught.
And when that
twice.
happens enough, they'll tell their friends, all right? They'll realize,
and they'll tell two friends, just like the old shampoo commercial
Yes.
from the 70s to show you how old I am. And they'll tell two friends, and so on and so on and so on.
And that's, very important for us. We know that the county has this big effort at trying to keep the bay clean. And I understand a couple of people threw balloons in the water. They went to jail.
They got arrested.
Good, as well they should. I have a lot of animals, so I understand about little critters eating little pieces of plastic, right? And it kills them.
Yeah,
It cuts up their inside. And I know there's a big push for the county to try to keep our water clean. So the next couple of years should be interesting to see what we do with our 120,000 septic tanks that are down here and the billions of dollars it's going to take to fix that. But a lot of attention is being spent on recycling, all right, and on the pickup, and being able to reduce the trash from 100% down to 10% when it's burnt. People want to know what happens to the remaining 10%.
Well, ashes, basically. That's all that's left over. We basically have a landfill that's dedicated right there at where the incinerator, the resources recovery facility is. That basically just takes one material, ashes. So we call it a monofill. Sometimes we call it an ash fill. But it's basically a landfill for that material. But we've also been working with some companies that produce cement, because here's the thing: in the production of cement, they used to use coal ash, like when coal is burned to power electric power plants. Yep. The ashes left over, they were perfect for mixing in with cement as part of the process. Well, guess what? There's a lot less coal burning in the country. They still need ash. We have ash.
That's great.
So we're, the thing of it is that we need to remove certain materials from that ash before they can use it. But we've been working with a cement company to hopefully get that done.
That's wonderful. So it's gonna live for another day.
And that for us, the biggest benefit, of course, is we're now expanding. It expands the capacity of our ash fill at the resources recovery facility. Let's say, for the sake of argument, we had another 10 years left. If we're able to get, at least half the ash used by a cement company, now that 10 years become 20 years.
And that's what I tell my dentist. I know I'm going to lose some of those teeth back there, but I want to keep them back there as long as possible. Frank Calderon from Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Folks, thanks for joining us, and have a good day.